How's it going, everyone? I hope you're having a great day. Today we got a story time of a spoiled kid who genuinely believes that he is a king, like he is royalty, and everyone else is his servant, and they must respect him because he is king of the third grade, or whatever grade he was in. I know you guys will enjoy this story, so sit back, relax, subscribe if you're new, and let's just jump right into it. So anyways, right, we're going to call the subscriber who submitted this story Alex. And in Alex's third grade class, because let's say, I know that they were young when this happened, or Alex told me, because he submitted the story to my Instagram. You can do the same. I tell stories you guys submit to me. Anyways, Alex, said that this was a long time ago when he was much younger. There's a kid in Alex's class who we're going to just call the spoiled kid. And because he was very simply the spoiled kid. He always had a air of arrogance and entitlement, and the list goes on from there around him. I don't really know how else to say it, but you understand what I mean. So, over the time of everything, just being told that he deserves everything and he is the best and he gets everything that he wants. After the spoiled kid learned about kings and queens of ancient times and how there were peasants and royalty and whatever, he kind of put two and two together. Well, incorrectly, he did 2 + 2 = 5, but he put it together and believed that since kings back in the day were treated with they got everything they wanted and they were respected by everyone and they could do no wrong, and that he believed that he deserved everything and that his parents would basically give him anything he wanted, that therefore he is also a king. So he kind of came to this bit of delusion, and he went with it. He really did run with it. So anyways, this all really started to happen one day in class. So anyways, Alex is sitting towards the back of the room. He's kind of with his friends, and also the spoiled kid is there. And the spoiled kid doesn't have that many friends. And you might be thinking, oh, Connor, that's sad. It's yes, it is sad. But also the thing is, sometimes people don't have friends because, socially anxious, socially awkward. They just, there's things that I definitely feel bad and I can sometimes, at some points in my life, completely relate to. But sometimes people don't have friends because they're the worst. That's sometimes just what happens, right? So sure enough, Alex is, just sitting there, and the spoiled kid is sitting in the back too. And Alex happened to sit down with his friends first, and then the spoiled kid sat back there. And so the class is beginning, and Alex is kind of paying attention, but he's also just talking with his friends. And sure enough, right, his friends and him are sitting there, and they hear a little noise, right? They hear and it's kind of just why did this kid clear his throat? So they turn around, they look at the spoiled kid, and he says, "Good day, peasants, how goes it?" And the thing is, right, the spoiled kid, after believing or convincing himself that he was a king, decided that he was going to speak all old-timey and old-fashioned, or really how he believed someone would speak back in the day, not actually how they did. And Alex and his friends kind of looked at each other, because, here's the thing. You're sitting in class, and this kid who's kind of annoying, but you don't really know, says, "Good morning, peasant." What? Genuinely, how do you react to that? How do you, sit down and just take, oh, yeah, this kid just called me a peasant. That's cool. That's great. That's cool. So Alex and his friends, they more or less decide to ignore it and move on, and they're just "What's up?" Hi. Because they're not going to engage in, I don't know, lively and great conversation with this guy after he's just called them peasants, but they're also not going to make a big deal out of it because they're not trying to have a problem. It's just so unnecessary. Sure, this kid's insane, but whatever, man. So sure enough, they kind of turn around, and then they hear so Alex turns around and is okay, what? What's going on here? And once again, who made the noise? The spoiled kid. Of course, the spoiled kid made the noise here. He's "Peasants, I need a pencil. Which of you will give your king a pencil?" Kids all look at him. And Alex is "You need a pencil, bro?" And the spoiled kid goes on to say, "Do not call your lord bro. That is disrespectful." Alex is kind of just like, okay, this is kind of weird now. Like, it was kind of strange in the beginning, but I kind of just brushed it off. But now it's just like full blown really weird and uncomfortable, and it's just really awkward at this point. So Alex is like, okay, dude, like, yeah, I got a pencil if you need one. And the spoiled kid goes, chop, chop, and he, like, claps his hands or whatever. And Alex turns to all of his friends, and his friends are looking at him like, bro, this kid, bro, I swear, like, this kid, dude, I swear to God, like, some days, bro, I swear. And Alex, Alex is nice and decides to give him a pencil. And the spoiled kid says, and for your service, here is 1 penny. Spend it wisely. Go feed your family, little peasant. And Alex looks at, like, he holds out his hand, or he doesn't hold out his hand, but he, like, looks at the penny that was just placed on his desk and looks up and is like, thanks, I guess. Like, okay. Like, the thing is, I don't really know, like, how's Alex supposed to react? I mean, this guy just acted like giving Alex a penny just, saved his life. Like, oh my God, thank you. Now I can grow wheat for the next rotation. Thank you, Lord, spoiled kid. Your blessings are so kind. I don't know, man. So this is the beginning of when Alex realized that this kid was kind of like, he was kind of doing his own thing in the worst possible way. Unfortunately, a couple days later, so Alex did not sit next to this. Alex and his friends did not sit next to this kid for a little while. But a couple days later, because of the shenanigans that happened the day before, a couple days later, right? The teacher has a group assignment, and group assignments always scare me, especially when they're randomized. Because you might be put in a group with someone, even if you just get one person who is just, like, really good, they could completely carry you. Obviously, always put in the work with these things. But if you get at least one good person, it's going to be a good experience. But with my luck, bro, I'm always putting, like, Look, I'm not always doing the greatest in class either. And that's the time when I really do need the person who's doing well. But with my luck, I'm always put in the group with the people who just are not even going to try ever, and I know 100% is going to be on me. So I'm always afraid of group projects. But Alex was just kind of sitting there, or back to the story, back to the story. Alex was sitting there with his friends, and Alex was really hoping that it would be him and his friends. And so the teacher didn't even really do it randomly. He's like, okay, Alex, and he kind of points to all of his friends, right? He's like, oh, you guys can be a group. Alex and his friends turn to each other. That little bit of excitement when you and your friend are put in a group together, you already know that feeling. And the teacher goes, oh, okay, also, spoiled kid over there doesn't have a group. He's going to be with you guys. And Alex just turns to the teacher and this kind of gives him a look. Like, isn't obviously trying to be like a jerk about it, but is like, really, bro? Really? Are you serious right now? But like, come on. You had it so good. You had it so good. So good. And you had to do me like that? Really? Is that how we're playing it right now? Are you serious? Why? Anyways, right, so they have to deal with reality. And Alex and his friends, they go over because now the teacher says, okay, go and decide how you're going to split up the work. And Alex totally forgot about how nonsense this kid has been recently. So Alex goes over with his friends and he's like, he remembers, because he's like talking with his friends. And that's when he remembers, oh my God, I totally forgot. Like, this kid is also ridiculous as well. And, they sit down and the spoiled kid is like, hello, peasants. We have a task at hand. As your king, as your ruler, I will decide who does what. And so it was like a writing project, but remember these kids were in like third grade, so it was like, write about apples and fairies. It can be 3 sentences long. Like, it wasn't that bad. But it was like a page worth, and they had 4 paragraphs to do or something. Or let's say 5 paragraphs, because we're going to say that there's 5 kids counting Alex's friends and the spoiled kid. So the spoiled kid is like, okay, friend number 1, I'm not going to give them names. You do paragraph 1. Friend number 2, you do paragraph 2. Friend number 3, you do paragraph 3. And it was looking like the spoiled kid was divvying up 1 paragraph to every single person. So when it came turn, like, for Alex to hear what he was getting, the spoiled kid says, and Alex, You get paragraph 4 and 5. And Alex is like, what? Like, what are you talking about, dude? Because, like, bro, there's 5 of us. There's 5 paragraphs. That is literally the easiest splitting up I have ever seen. Like, it could not be any cleaner to split it up by giving one person per paragraph. It legitimately could not be cleaner. But no, of course not. So Alex goes on to say the very obvious question of, like, dude, with all due respect, there's 5 paragraphs and 5 of us. Shouldn't we just do it 1 paragraph per person? Wouldn't that make a lot more sense? And the spoiled kid legitimately thought that this was funny. He started to laugh. He was like, ha ha ha, like, all right, oh, peasant, you always make me laugh. You are so funny. I don't know. And at this point, like, Alex is like, also, bro, why are you calling me peasant? Like, that's really weird. Like, I don't know if that's, like, you think that's a thing to, like, call people, like, how you might say, like, hey, that's my bro or whatever. But no one calls people their peasants. And the spoiled kid's like, of course people don't call them their peasants. Like, that would make absolutely no sense. Also, epic Minecraft play right there. I'm so good at Bed Wars. Anyways, sure enough, you know, the spoiled kid is like, well, I'm the king, and you're all my peasants. So of course I would call you my peasants. And also, I'm the king. Why would I do the work? All I do is sit here and tell you what to do. And Alex is like, bro, it's not going to fly. And at this point, he's like, are you trying to, at this point, like, the spoiled kid was starting to, like, he was at a loss for words. Because he believed that everyone believed that he was the rightful king and the stuff like that, right? He was the rightful king and he deserved to be, like, how dare you speak against the king type business, right? So Alex turned to his friends and Alex is like, bro, okay, we're not going to do the 5th paragraph. Us 4 are going to do the first 4. The 5th paragraph is probably the easiest paragraph. Just do it. It's not that hard. And when we come in Friday, because it was Wednesday that day, we're all going to have our paragraphs. We'll put them together, and then we'll turn it in, okay? And the king says, this is mutiny. This is ridiculous. And Alex and his friends his friends start to back up Alex, like, bro, no, like, you're being ridiculous here, saying that, like, you're better than someone because you're the king or whatever, and you don't have to do it because you're the king. What does that even mean, man? And at this point, the spoiled kid is starting to get really, really angry. And Alex decides to end it like, okay, you know, if you don't do the work, we're just going to tell the teacher that you refuse to do the part that you had to do, and you'll get a bad grade. It's really up to you on this one. We're giving you the easiest part, so, like, we're being generous with it. We'll see you Friday. Because they didn't have this class on Thursday. The idea was their homework assignment was to write one part of the assignment that they were going to turn in as a group on Friday. So anyways, on that Thursday, Alex and his friends were sitting at the lunch table, and they were talking, and Alex's friends were like, or one of Alex's friends who's in the group posed the question like, yo, Alex, do you think that, you know, the spoiled kid's actually going to do it? And Alex is like, you know what? I really don't care either way, because one way, he does it, and we all get a good grade. But the other way, I get to turn in that kid who's been acting like a jerk for the last couple days to the teacher, and I get to have quite the show, right? So Alex is like, you know what, man? I don't care. Either way is good with me if I'm being serious right now. If I'm being serious right now, either way is good with me. So anyways, finally, it's the day that we've all been waiting for. It is Friday. And anyways, it's now officially Friday, and they get into class. And Alex is looking at the spoiled kid, who doesn't because, like, everyone came into class with a piece of paper. Because, look, maybe some people wrote more paragraphs than others. Maybe some people did something else. But everyone came in with a piece of paper with something written on it, and they all went to their groups. And Alex and his friends were sitting down at their table, and they were waiting for the spoiled kid to enter the classroom. And sure enough, the spoiled kid enters the classroom, and he has kind of a strut to him. He started to develop a, I am better than you because I'm the king strut. I don't know if that's a thing, but use your imagination, guys. Come on now. And he very clearly did not have a piece of paper with him. Alex was still holding out that maybe he did it, and the piece of paper was in his backpack because he did have a backpack on. So they all sat down, And, the spoiled kid sat down and kind of like raised his nose to them and looked away. That kind of like very cliche, like someone's being like snobby and looking away and being in disgust, like, oh, or whatever. Just imagine that, but with the spoiled kid, right? And Alex is like, yo, do you do your paragraph? And he says, do the paragraph? I thought we had an agreement that I was your king and you were to do as I said. And Alex is like, all right, bet. And he gets up and he walks to the teacher, right? And the spoiled kid is like, the teacher knows my position in this society. He understands how things work around here. At this point, the spoiled kid was so deluded that he believed that the teacher was going to tell Alex, well, actually, Alex, the spoiled kid is the king of the third grade society. So, in fact, you need to listen to everything that he says. Believe it or not, that was not the case. So Alex went up to the teacher, and the teacher's like, hey, Alex, like, do you guys have your, because people were walking up to hand in their projects or presentations or whatever, right? Group assignments. And Alex is like, no, sir, I actually don't, like, and I have a reason for it. And the teacher's like, okay, like, because the teacher's heard, oh my God, my dog ate my homework. Oh my God, my mom ate my homework. He's heard every excuse under the sun. But Alex goes on to explain it. And by the end of it, the teacher's like, so if I go to this kid and I ask him and I basically say, like, is it true that you didn't do your part of the assignment because you believe that you're the king, that he'll say yes. And this was a bit of a risky move for Alex because maybe there's a chance that the spoiled kid would have smartened up and realized that he would have gotten out of this if he just said that he probably wouldn't have gotten out of it. But there's a chance for sure that the spoiled kid would have pretended that he never was acting like a king and that he had respect for all of them the entire time. Right? But sure enough, right, the teacher goes over and it is, he walks over and he's like, hey, spoiled kid, says his actual name. Is it true that you didn't do your work because you believe that you're, I'm quoting this, a king? Is that true? And the spoiled kid says, yes, Mr. Davenport, you are 100% correct by that. I know that you understand how this all works. I am the king and these are my peasants. And obviously, I would be the one who delegates, not the one who works. Teacher just kind of gives him this look of like, what? And then the teacher turns to, oh my God, Alex, sorry, I forgot the name. Turns to Alex and gives him a look of like, I did not expect this, man. Okay. And the teacher's like, I didn't totally expect you to say that. So no one's a king or a peasant in this class. You're all third graders here. And I guess I'm the king because this is my classroom, but don't call me that. So what you're saying is you didn't do the work. And the spoiled kid at this point was starting to like realize that maybe this wasn't going so well for him. So the spoiled kid's like, well, I mean, obviously I didn't do the work because I'm the king and they're my peasants or something. And you could tell the spoiled kid was starting to become less and less, he started to believe less and less in what he was saying. And the teacher's like, well, I mean, if you don't do the work, you're going to get a 0 on the assignment. And at this point, the spoiled kid just stops responding because he starts to realize that his whole ideology is nonsense, right? And he's like, well, I mean, okay, so spoiled kid, I will give you until Monday to make this up. If you come in Monday with a paragraph that you need, this will all be forgotten as long as I don't hear any more of this calling other people peasants or calling yourself a king nonsense, then no one will know, like this will be not swept under the rug, but I won't care about it. But you got to turn in that paragraph on Monday, and if I hear another word from you about you being a king, someone else is a peasant, then to the front office you will go. So guess what happened next Monday? The spoiled kid came in, he had a piece of paper, he immediately handed it to the teacher, and you know what Alex and his friends didn't hear for the rest of that year? They didn't hear any nonsense from the spoiled kid about he is a king and they must respect his authority. So we're going to call the subscriber who submitted this first story Daniel. Daniel was in 5th grade when this all happened, and there's a kid in his class who we're just going to call the spoiled kid. He's kind of just the kid who, like, when he wanted something, he always got it, and if he didn't get it, he would find a way to get it himself, you know what I mean? So anyways, in 5th grade was the first year that Daniel was, like, in his class, or in 5th grade was the first year that kids were allowed, not just allowed in the computer class or the computer lab, but had a class in the computer lab. So basically, they would go there and they would learn, like, how to type properly, just to make sure you aren't like using 2 fingers and typing, which I know some people that can type really fast like that, but I'm pretty sure there's a point where it just isn't as fast as like normal typing. But anyways, you'd learn how to type, you'd learn like very basics of like how to use certain things, but also in the computer lab, teachers were allowed to use like fun math games, like cool math games or something like that. And so sure enough, you know, Daniel and his friends in 5th grade were pretty excited because it was a couple weeks into 5th grade when they were allowed to go, or when they had a class period like computer class or whatever. So, you know, Daniel and his friends were pretty excited to go over because, you know, I think some of them had like Xboxes at home and maybe they had like family computers, but none of them like had a laptop themselves. So this is pretty cool for most of them. And then, you know, they walk over there, they go in there, and the first week or so of like computer class is just learning how to type or whatever. But after a couple weeks, like they no longer have computer class, but what they do have is math class. Because, I mean, they've had math class the whole time. But what they do is for, like, 1 day a week, like on Thursdays or whatever, they're able to go to the computer lab to do, like, some kind of math game. Maybe coolmathgames.com, maybe something similar. It's like you go on there, you're doing math, but it's made fun because it's been, like, it's made into a video game. You have a high score or whatever. But one thing about this was that it was, like, I don't know if it was a website, because I'm pretty sure, like, for some reason, the progress you made was only, like, saved on the computer itself. Like, you couldn't make an account and then log in at home or something like that. For some reason, because this is very important later on in the story, maybe the spoiled kid didn't have a computer at home, but for some reason, right? For some reason, you couldn't save your progress and pick it up on another device somewhere else. You had to do it like at, you know, the computer here. So anyways, Daniel and his friends, you know, they were playing like the cool math games type thing every single Thursday. It was kind of like an unofficial competition in the class because the teacher herself wasn't trying to like push the who's going to be number one, who's going to be the best. She wasn't all for that, you know, competition because she knows that people are at different levels in their kind of math journeys or whatever. But, you know, it was kind of like an unofficial thing for like kids in the class to kind of compare with each other and compete like via that. But the person who really, because like the thing was, Daniel liked it, Daniel's friends enjoyed it, but the kid who really, and when I say really, I mean really enjoyed it was the spoiled kid. The spoiled kid enjoyed it so much that he would, like, every single day of the week, besides Thursday, he would talk about how excited he is to go to the computer lab to do the math games or whatever, which is, like, shout out to the teacher for making, like, the math video game, like, for making math entertaining. Such to a point that, you know, this kid is waiting every single day, excited to go learn how to do math, you know. So, like, shout out to the teacher for them. However, the spoiled kid took it a little bit too far. So this is like a couple months into the program. They've been going every Thursday for over a month at this point. And, you know, one of these Thursdays, so basically the math computer class is like the last class of the day for them. And so one of these days, you know, Daniel and his friends, you know, they're done. They walk back because, like, the computer lab is like in a separate building from all their other classes. It's very close to the main school, but it's in a separate building. And Daniel remembers that he accidentally left his backpack in the main building. So anyways, Daniel's like, oh, guys, I'm sorry. Like, I have to go back. Like, I left my backpack in not the main building, the computer building. I'll meet you guys in a second, since they all did carpool together. And they were like, yeah, man, that's fine. We'll just let our moms know that, you know, you're going to be a second. So Daniel, you know, walks back to the computer lab, and it's unlocked because, like, you might be thinking that they would keep it locked for, like, as soon as someone, like, you have to unlock it to go in or whatever. But before the incident that is about to happen, they literally just left it unlocked until the janitor came around and cleaned it and then locked it themselves. So, yeah, the computer lab was completely unlocked, which was good for Daniel because he left his backpack in there. So Daniel is, like, walking into the computer lab. He opens up the door, and you know who he sees? He's not alone because he sees another person. He sees the spoiled kid. You know what the spoiled kid is doing at this moment? The spoiled kid is detaching the computer. He's like ripping out all the wires or whatever. And I don't know if there's like an Ethernet cable or something like this, and I don't know if these were desktops. I'm going to assume that these were like laptops, like connected up, because if it was a desktop, I'm not totally sure what the spoiled kid was even thinking, but it very well could have been a desktop, and the spoiled kid was just really in over his head. Because basically, right, the spoiled kid goes on to, like, he looks up at Daniel, and Daniel looks at the spoiled kid. And it's kind of at a point where it's like, it's like the spoiled kid got caught, like, in 4K. He's just looking at him, and they're looking at each other. And that's when Daniel realizes that the spoiled kid is not just sticking behind to play more cool math games or whatever, but the spoiled kid is sticking behind to take the computer. He's taking the computer home with him. And the spoiled kid, very quickly says, like, you saw nothing, bro. Like, I just want to learn more math at home, so I'm taking this computer with me. Obviously, right, this is not something you should do. This is also not something you can do, right? But the thing was, Daniel wasn't trying to, I don't know, he wasn't trying to, like, mess with this kid. It's not like this kid was some big bully who had power and, like, ran the school mafia or something, but, he just wasn't trying to have trouble. He wasn't trying to have beef with anyone. So Daniel's like, all right, man, like, that's fine. I don't really care what you do. I'm not going to say anything. I don't want to have to deal with any repercussions or anything like that. So just, I was never here. I'm grabbing my backpack. So Daniel walks over to where his backpack is, and, like, immediately the spoiled kid goes back to, like, trying to unhook the computer. And Daniel grabs his backpack, and he just walks out. And as he's walking out, he sees the door open, and not the door to the computer lab, but the door to the very front of the computer lab to get into the building. And who walks in but it's his teacher. And his teacher is like, oh, hey, Daniel, have a good day. And Daniel's like, you too. Because he knows that there's only one place the teacher's going. She must have also left something in the computer lab, or for some reason she wanted to get in there herself. So Daniel knew for like 100% sure that she was about to walk into the computer lab, and she was about to see the spoiled kid ripping the wires out and trying to steal one of those computers. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, comment spoiled down below. I really would appreciate it. And I'd just like to see how many people made it this far into the video. And if you want to support the channel, the best way you can do so is just by watching old videos. And let me know in the comment section down below how many videos this week you've watched. Like, how many older videos, or also what do you do when you sit down and, like, binge watch a bunch of videos. It really does support the channel more than you can even imagine. And also just want to let you know, if you're a Spotify fan, these episodes are on Spotify as a podcast. It's the first link in the description. And finally, if you want to submit your own stories, you can submit them to either the DMs of my Twitter or Instagram. And also don't DM me saying, do I want a story? Yes, I do want one. Just submit it to me. I sometimes use stories that I received 5 minutes ago. I sometimes use ones I received 4 months ago. I sometimes scroll. Like, just be patient, man. Like, I will eventually probably get to it, but I also have so many DMs I can't guarantee anything. Anyways, let's get back to the story. It's getting pretty juicy. So anyways, Daniel is walking out, and he just knows, like, that, like, chaos is about to ensue. So Daniel doesn't exactly walk out. He gets to the door and stops at the door because he just wants to listen to hear what's going on. And he hears the teacher go, "Spoiled kid, what are you doing?" And he hears the spoiled kid go, because, like, what are you supposed to be, what do you say at that point? You have a desktop or a laptop, but maybe a desktop in your hands. You've completely unplugged it. You're probably trying to push it into your backpack or whatever. And you hear the teacher go on to say, "Were you trying to take that home?" And the spoiled kid's like, no, I swear. And the teacher's like, "Then what were you doing? Tell me what you were doing, or I'm forced to believe that you're trying to steal that." And at this point, like, spoiled kid's like, and at this point, Daniel's like, all right, I got to get out of here. Like, I can't be caught listening. She might be thinking I was part of this or whatever. So Daniel walks out, and he goes home. And the next day comes around, and the spoiled kid is in class, right? And the spoiled kid's in class. And it's just very, like, Daniel was like, oh, he didn't get suspended or anything. Like, that's crazy. However, a couple days go by, or the next week comes around, and it's eventually Thursday. And the spoiled kid is no longer super happy, right? Because normally the spoiled kid is, like, so excited on Thursdays because it's the day where, it's the cool math the coolmathgames.com day, right? And that's when Daniel realizes, as they're all walking out of the classroom to go to the computer lab, that the spoiled kid is not moving. And that's when Daniel realizes the spoiled kid, he didn't get suspended, he didn't get expelled, he didn't get like anything like that. But what he did get, a punishment far worse than any of that. I'm just kidding. But the punishment he received was he was banned from the computer lab. All right, so hopping into the next story, this one's actually really crazy. I think you will actually enjoy this one more than the first one, so make sure to stick around. We're going to call the subscriber Liam. So anyways, Liam was a college student, right? And Liam had a girlfriend, and it was just a really bad relationship. Sometimes you hop into these things a little bit too quickly. You kind of have the butterfly period. You look at someone with rose-tinted glasses, and you kind of ignore all the flaws. And like I've definitely been there. I'm there all the time. It's something I worry about because I do see so many people with rose-tinted glasses. That expression just means you really only see the good in them, and you kind of ignore the bad until it's too late. So anyways, Liam was in a pretty toxic relationship. It's irrelevant, the details. Just know it wasn't good. So Liam realizes it's time for him to break up. So, he asked like his girlfriend to meet him in this kind of park, or kind of like park type thing that was near the college, because they both went to the same college. They met in like one of their classes or whatever. And he basically says, hey, like, I don't think this is working out anymore. I'm sorry. Like, let's stay friends, which let's stay friends literally just means politely, we're breaking up and we're not going to be friends, because the odds are you're not going to be friends. Some people are, but unlikely is all I'm trying to say. But anyways, right, the girlfriend does not take it very well. And it's super awkward for Liam because, this girl is like, no, like, we can work through this. And Liam's just not trying to have it, which, by the way, Liam's not in the wrong at all. If you don't feel comfortable in a relationship, you have no reason to stay. Like, there's no reason why you should, Like, the other person might be like, I'm going to be so sad. Don't let them guilt trip you, man. You got to do what's good for you. They would do the same thing if their roles were reversed, trust me. And Liam's like, no, I'm sorry. Like, if there's anything you need me to do, let me know. But I just can't. We just can't be friends. We just can't be like that, And, the girl goes on, like, to be like, no, like, you can't be doing this to me. I've done so much for you. Like, he's trying to, like, guilt trip him back into it. And Liam just kind of puts his foot down. He's like, no, I'm just not doing that. Like, at the end of the day, I don't care. I don't really care what you say. I'm just not going to do that. And so anyways, right, they break up officially. And, I mean, the girl is, like, very dragging her feet on this. And Liam's like, dude, I just can't. I'm sorry. And it's a very awkward and uncomfortable situation for all of them. And Liam's just like, wow, that was kind of terrible. I did not enjoy that at all. So anyways, Liam goes back to his, his dorm room or whatever. Or no, he doesn't live in a dorm. He lives in off-campus housing. So he has a house, but it's like funded or it's like subsidized by the school. And he drives back and he lives with a couple other people. So he sits down there like, dude, did you finally break up with her? Liam says yes. They're like, yeah, okay, you're the man. We'll just have a chill night tonight. So I don't know. They're just playing like games or whatever. And, as they're on the Xbox, Liam looks at his phone and he gets a message on Instagram. I don't know why he didn't get this as a text message, but he got a message on Instagram. So he saw the notification. He saw it was from his ex-girlfriend and it looked like a long paragraph. So he's like, oh, geez. Yeah, when this happens, when you break up with someone, you're probably going to get a few long paragraphs of like, oh my God, all the stuff that they didn't really have the balls to say in person. That's just how it goes, man. And anyways, he receives the text message and he opens it up, or the Instagram DM opens it up, and it basically says like, I really don't like how things went down today. I don't think that that's the right choice. I'm going to give you one chance to get back together with me, or bad things will happen. Which, first of all, if you're in a relationship and you need to, like, give someone, like, if you need to threaten someone, just threatening someone and being in a relationship should not be in the same sentence. Like, I love you so much. Love me or you shall perish. Like, you just can't be throwing that around, right? So Liam, completely confused by, like, what she means by you'll suffer the consequences or whatever she said, goes on to say basically, like, he's like, okay. He shows it to his boys and they're like, dude, I don't even know what to say here. Like, this is crazy. She's crazy. Like, you made the right call breaking up, but, like, I don't know what she's going to do. And they were all pretty nervous because, like, who knows what she was going to do? Like, was she going to, like, tell people that he was actually a terrible person? Was she going to, I don't know, like, throw eggs at their house? A whole range of stuff that she might do. And so they're kind of just like, okay, you should respond to her and maybe ask what the bad thing is. So Liam, responds like, can you tell me what, like, the consequences, like, what do you mean by I'll suffer the consequences? Or whatever she said. She said something along those lines. And so she sees the message and she doesn't reply. Basically, it shows, like, Liam sees that she saw the message and she just doesn't reply to that. Which in Liam's mind means that, she doesn't want to fall, like, what actually happened was that she just wasn't telling him anything else. But in Liam's mind and in Liam's friend's mind, she kind of, like, gave up. Like, she was, like, decided to not go through with whatever she was going to go through with. So Liam and her friends were like, okay, well, it looks like she's chilled out. That was 100% not the case. In fact, it got significantly worse. Because the next day, Liam wakes up and he's got a class at like 10. He's waking up at like 9:30. He's like, oh God, I got to get my car. He goes outside, gets his keys, whatever. So when Liam goes outside with his car keys, what he sees in front of him is like completely shocking. His front window on his car is completely smashed up. And this isn't like something fell on it because of like a rock fell or something in a tree fell, like a tree branch, more likely than a rock falling, right? If a tree branch fell on his car and was big enough to do damage, you would have seen the tree branch in the car, right? This was and you could just tell by kind of the smash pattern that it was like a blunt object that like made contact with the car window several times, right? It was very clear that that was the case. So all of a sudden, Liam is like, he immediately puts two and two together because right before, his ex-girlfriend said, if you don't get back with me, you'll suffer the consequences. And then the next day he wakes up and his car window's all smashed up. The thing is, though, him and his friends invested in a Ring camera. I don't know if you guys know what those are, or something similar to a Ring camera. Basically, it's a camera you put out, and if there's any motion, it not just records it, but it like notifies you on your app. So like he checks his Ring, and sure enough, at like 4 a.m. that night, he got a notification that his Ring was on, they got a notification that there was like motion or whatever. And he checks the video, and sure enough, thank God that like the street lights were like bright enough that, you could pretty clearly make it out. This isn't some like CCTV footage that has like 6 pixels entirely. And he sees the video, and sure enough, it's his girlfriend very clearly with like a hammer just whacking the front of his head, like just whacking like his window. And she goes off, and it just like at this point, Liam's like, okay, I'm not making it to first period today. So Liam goes to her Instagram DMs. He screenshots it. He screen records it. He does everything he needs to do to like make sure that she doesn't delete it and say that he faked it or whatever. And that's when he goes over to Instagram and says, hey, like, I saw my car this morning, like, I'm going to need you to pay. And then he tells her exactly how much he needs her to pay, or like, I'm pressing charges. And she responds like that wasn't me, but, bad things happen to people when they do bad things. I believe in karma. So at this point, this girl is trying to be like, ooh, this wasn't me, man, but you deserved it because you broke up with me. At this point, Liam now realized that she didn't know that, like, he had the footage. So at this point, Liam uploads the video. He downloads the video from Ring or whatever, and then he uploads the video and he sends it as a message on DM. And then he says, hey, if I don't receive in my Venmo or Cash App or something, X number of dollars, because I think he knew or looked up exactly how much it would cost to replace, like by the end of tonight, like I'm filing like a police report and I will be pressing charges. Because he has the evidence. He has the evidence, like the motive. He has proof. He's got a perfect case. And the thing is, right, the girl opens it, sees it, and doesn't respond for like hours. And Liam sends another message being like, yo, by the way, if I don't like receive, and he sends a follow-up saying like, if I don't receive it by 9 tonight, that's when I'm filing like the report. At 8:55, he receives a message that he just received a like Venmo or Cash App, like whatever, of X number of dollars. And it's a pretty big amount, right? And at this point, right, Liam realizes that, okay, like I won this one. Like we're good. We're cool. And which at one point, Liam was like 5 minutes away from filing a police report. He was actually going to do it. Like, there was no reason for him not to, because, like, not only would he have gotten his money back, but then he also would have gotten this girl in trouble, who definitely kind of deserved it, because, like, if she didn't, like, get some kind of, like, repercussions, she was just going to do it again. So, yeah, Liam, unfortunately had to spend all this time and, getting his, window fixed, but thankfully, his window or his car window or whatever didn't cost him anything. I think it cost a little more than what he said because he underestimated, but either way, Liam at this point is a lot more careful when he chooses his girlfriends from here on out.